On today's episode, I give you my thoughts on the Disney remake Mulan trailer, and also I give you my spoiler-free review of Spider-Man Far From Home. So sit back, relax, I'll talk about it right after the intro. So before we get into the topics of the podcast today, I hope you had a great July 4th weekend and just a great weekend in general. And I want to thank you for coming back and listening to me and talking about movie news. So, now that we got that out of the way, first I want to talk about Mulan, the Disney remake. Now, I've been following Mulan for a bit and all the casting and the behind the scenes. And when I started reading about this and seeing what the direction and tone they're gonna go, because I really want to know how they're gonna do this, how they're gonna make it different from the other rem- remakes. And from what I'm hearing, from what they're going to do, this could be the most different from their other remakes because they're not gonna have the big musical numbers, and they're not gonna have the love interest that you see that trains her when she's in the army. So before I saw that trailer and I was reading that, I was like, okay, this is going to be very different. I don't know how I will respond to that, to be perfectly honest, because Mulan has one of the best songs in Disney animation history with I'll Make a Man Out of You. That's such a great song, in my opinion. And I just, it's one of the key things about what made it so great. And also Mushu and Eddie Murphy voicing Mushu. And it was really one of those great animated movies in the 90s. And when I heard that they're gonna go different from that, for not doing the songs and not bringing back Eddie Murphy and not making Mushu into this movie, I think that's going very different and very bold. And before I saw the trailer, I wasn't sure how it would play out. Now, I saw the trailer yesterday, and I have to say it looks very beautiful. They sh- they for surely spent their money wisely because the scenery looks beautiful, how it's shot, it looks gorgeous, and the person who plays Mulan looks really good at the fighting because that's what they're showing so far of her being a woman, but at that time you can't be a woman and be a warrior. But they're showing that she can fight, she can use a sword, she can use a bow and arrow, and she looks really good because this kind of reminded me a bit of Wonder Woman. Not like because she's a woman, she can't be into a warrior, but kind of like so showing how good she is in battle, showing how good she is in fighting. Obviously, we know how good Wonder Woman is. So, but with Mulan, going with that culture and that background, and just seeing how good she is with a sword, just how good she is with a bow and arrow, that really got me intrigued and excited. But it's going to be very interesting how they handle the other dynamics of what made the animation movie so great. Because to me, I really need to see her struggle being in the army because a woman has never done this before. And in the movie, they showed that she was weaker than everyone else because she was posing as a man but she really isn't a man. So she had to work 10 times, 20 times more than anyone else. And and you saw the struggle, and you saw as the movie went along, she progressed and started getting better and better because she's doing it for her family. She needs to do it for her family and bring honor to her family. And I thought that was really a cool part in the movie, and that needs to be in this live action. Yes, I'm gonna admit I'm kind of bummed out that we're not getting Mushu. I'm kind of bummed out we're not getting the general's son in the movie. You know, I just disagree with that a lot, but they need to keep the struggle of her trying to be in the army. She needs to struggle. She needs to be like 10, 20 times giving more effort than all of the other men, because if she doesn't give that, they're going to find out, oh, she's a woman. Now, eventually, they're going to find out she's a woman because that's how the whole story goes. And I'm just very intrigued how they're going to do this, because I think when I look back at all of these remakes, if you ask me which one would you want to see of the Disney remakes, would you see the animation one or would you see the live action one? And still to this day, I still want to see the animations movies. There's this that live action just hasn't taken over um the animation movies. Now, with Lion King coming out soon and the Mulan coming out next year, that might change. But with the Jungle Book, even though I really love that live action Jungle Book, I'm still going to the animation. I still love that. I still love the animation. Even though the live action Jungle Book gives more depth and more lore to the story, I would still prefer the animation one. Now that can just be me because I love the Jungle Book animation movie. It brings a smile to my face every time I watch it. And the songs are just so good. And the voice acting amazing. But with the live actions one, it's just yeah, they're good, but it just hasn't got to that place where I rather watch the live action instead of the animation. So with all that saying, I'm looking forward to Mulan. I'm looking forward what to do, what to change, and to see if that kind of changes my mind on the live action one. Because Lion King is coming up in about couple of weeks, so I'm gonna be looking forward to that and reviewing that on the podcast. So we're gonna just have to find out what Disney has planned for those live actions and see how they do. So on to topic number two, Spider-Man Far From Home. So before I get into the actual review, I'm going to talk about the box office. And found out today that Spider-Man Far From Home, over a 6-day week that was in theaters, and made $185 million. So that's amazing. That is extraordinary. And worldwide, it made, I believe, it was 560 million worldwide. So that's even better because they're halfway close to $1 billion. And I think this is gonna be the first Spider-Man movie that's gonna make $1 billion. And if you look at it that way, it's kind of shocking that no Spider-Man movie has made over $1 billion. So that's a pretty big thing for Sony and Marvel and even Spider-Man to come out in an opening weekend, make 185 million domestic and worldwide 560 mil. So, and that's really saying that they want Spider-Man in this universe. They want him to stay around in the MCU because everyone was worried about when and if Spider-Man was going to be taken out of the MCU by Sony. And to me, this just affirms that Spider-Man's not going anywhere. And if you saw the movie and the post-credit scenes, you would understand Spider-Man ain't going anywhere. So now saying that, let's get into the Spider-Man review. So what did I think of it? So before I say what I thought of it, I went back and saw all the Spider-Man movies, from the worst to the best, and even watched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and that's a great movie in itself. And the animation in the Miles Morales story, how it all connects with the other Spider-Man, Spider-Woman in the movie. So when I went to see Far From Home, my thoughts before going in, okay, I've been loving the marketing, been loving the trailers, everything about I'm seeing, I'm loving, and I'm excited to see this movie. And Marvel and Sony did not disappoint. This movie was wonderful. I thought it gave me the right feels of Homecoming, and it just added more action, more intensity, and more emotion to it. I thought Tom Holland as Peter Parker and Spider-Man is just the perfect Spider-Man. And you're going to hear that from a lot of people. It's because it's true. For me, he gets the perfect balance of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. And to me, there's no one going to be better because I think when Tom Holland is done, if he ever is going to be done as Spider-Man because he was cast so young, I think he's going to be what Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. is to Iron Man and Captain America. When they think of those characters, they're going to think of those actors who play them. And from a certain extent, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. So I think he just did a great job of balancing the emotion and the humor and the playfulness and the excitement that is Spider-Man and Peter Parker. And I really loved Mysterio as well. Now, I never knew how they would do Mysterio on screen because you really couldn't do it like 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, because they did so many crazy things in the comics with Mysterio. But I couldn't believe just how good they did Mysterio and how good Jake Gyllenhaal did playing Quentin Beck. Oh man, that's just such a fantastic character that they created in the movie and how Jake Gyllenhaal played him and how he acted. It was just such a fantastic villain for the MCU. Would I make him better than Vulture? Um, I would say Vulture is better in Homecoming just a tad because when I watch Homecoming and I watch that car scene and him figuring out just who Peter is in Homecoming, I think, oh, that was just such a great scene and how they filmed it. It was so wonderful. So now onto the relationships into the movie. I really like the MJ and Peter relationship. Now, I'm gonna say this right now. The one thing it took me off guard, took me a little bit to really, you know, get over was okay. So when you watch Homecoming, you can't really tell that Peter likes MJ or MJ likes Peter. And it's all of a sudden Peter likes MJ. And MJ is crushing on Peter. And it's just, how did we get there? It's just something's missing. How did we get to Peter being friends with MJ and now all of a sudden Peter likes MJ? I wish I saw that in the movie. I wish I saw how it came to be. Now it's not a spoiler that Peter liked MJ because that's in the trailer. But I think that would be my critique for that relationship into the movie. I just wish they told me how we got there. Now, they might have just done that just like off screen, being friends in over the year, or maybe it was just their connection of being snapped in Infinity War and they just connected over that. To be perfectly honest, I think it was a good idea to take that out and save screen time for like other things into the movie. Now, I'll say this. The first act is very homecoming-ish. It leans on homecoming. It leans on why you love homecoming. You love the characters. You love the relationships. You love the kids into the movie. And also the teachers. But when it gets into that second and third act, that's when it really pumps up. That's when you really, oh, have mercy. They are really going for it. They're going for that action. They're going for those deep dives into the relationship. They're really going into the emotion of dealing with Tony, dealing with who's going to be the next Iron Man. Really focusing on that. And I thought that was really cool. Really cool on how they came to that and how they resolved that. And I gotta say, that third act, that's it was just amazing. It really was. Whenever you see it and you watch the third act of the movie and you see him being Spider-Man, oh wow, it's just that's the most Spider-Man action I've seen in a movie that's like the comics. The third act was pretty much just right out of the comics. It was just so amazing. And I was smiling the whole time, and how they do that. And I loved every minute of it. I truly did. Now, I think if I had to say what would the best sequences in Far From Home, I think it had to do with Mysterio. That is just jaw dropping. That that's gonna be one of the scenes when you're gonna want to go back and just see that scene alone and just how they did it. I was like, oh my gosh. But no spoilers. I'm not gonna give any spoilers, but you're gonna want to see it, and when you see it, your jaw's gonna drop. It was just an amazing sequence. I would compare it a little to The Last Jedi. There's a sequence in The Last Jedi that I would compare to that Mysterio scene too. And if you've seen The Last Jedi, you might know what I'm talking about, and that might get you really excited. So, with the post-credit scenes, there are two post-credit scenes, and everything you've been hearing about them are completely true. They are incredible. They are jaw-dropping. They set up not only Spider-Man, but Phase 4 in a shattering way. This is that simple. I think the mid-credit scene is more surprising than the end credit scene because of just what they do in the mid credit and what are they going to set up in the mid credit scene for future Spider-Man stories to tell. So that's gonna be pretty incredible of where they go with it because they've done it before in the comics, and if they do what they did in the comics on screen and the people that were involved in that certain storyline into the comics, that's going to be really exciting. Really, really, really exciting for what they're setting up. And I am all for it. I cannot wait to see what Sony, Marvel, Kevin Feige has in store. I cannot wait to, in a couple of weeks, for San Diego Comic Con to reveal their slate, what is Spider-Man going to do, and all this. So it just is really exciting to me to see what is to come. Far From Home was just a amazing time at the movies. Now I saw it 2 times, and I'm not sure where I would place Far From Home, but I think I would put Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse first. I think Far From Home just beats Homecoming. Just beats Homecoming. Then you got Homecoming and Spider-Man 2 from my top 4 Spider-Man movies of all time. And when you do watch Far From Home, I think for most of you, I think it's going to be in the top 3 because wonderful things happen in that movie, and also shocking things happen in that movie. So yeah, it was just a wonderful time at the movie theater, and I just can't wait for the future of Spider-Man. I cannot wait for the future of the MCU and what Kevin Feige has cooked up for the next 5 years. And it's interesting that they started the MCU with Iron Man and they ended the Infinity Saga with Iron Man protege, or you can say mentor. But I'll say this, after this, there will be no more of Peter Parker Spider-Man being into the shadow of anyone in the MCU. I'll just say that, and how they set that up. So that's my Spider-Man Far From Home review. I would give this right now an 8.5 out of 10. So for right now, that's Spider-Man Far From Home is my second favorite movie of the summer, being first Avengers Endgame. Now, can you really call Avengers Endgame a summer movie? It started the summer blockbuster, so yeah, I think so. So that's my list. That's my review for Far From Home. So until next time, I hope you have a blessed weekend and talk to you later.